Have you ever noticed how the night seems to amplify everything? When the world grows quiet and the lights go out, our thoughts grow louder. Worries we pushed aside during the day come creeping back. Doubts echo a little deeper. Pain, emotional, physical or spiritual, seems to press in more heavily. But maybe, just maybe, the night isn't here to overwhelm us. Maybe it's here to restore us. This is the sacred pause we often miss. In the stillness of night, God isn't silent, He's drawing near. While the world sleeps, He continues His work, healing, comforting, restoring. Night is not just for sleeping. It's a divine invitation to let go of what we can't carry and hand it over to the one who can. That's why I want to invite you tonight, not just to listen, but to enter into a rhythm, a nightly rhythm of healing and surrender. Let this prayer become more than just background noise. Let it be your altar of rest, a holy space where you stop striving and start receiving. Because healing isn't always loud or immediate. Sometimes it begins in the quiet, a whispered prayer, a slow exhale, a heart finally letting go. When you turn to this space night after night, you're not just creating a habit. You're establishing a rhythm of trust. You're training your soul to return to the one who never sleeps. The one who understands your weariness. The one who holds your anxieties gently and replaces them with peace. Maybe you've tried everything else. The self-help books, the breathing exercises, the long walks at sunset. Yet the ache remains, that silent ache that no one else seems to notice, but it keeps you awake. Friend, you are seen, you are known, and you are deeply loved by a God who doesn't wait for the morning light to begin healing you. He begins now, in this moment, and perhaps for the first time in a long while, you can simply breathe. Not because your circumstances have changed, but because you are no longer carrying them alone. That's what this space is for, a gentle reminder that healing isn't earned, it's received. That rest isn't weakness, it's wisdom. That surrender isn't giving up, it's giving over. So even if you feel broken, tired, or uncertain tonight, you are not alone, and you don't have to carry it all anymore. The same God who healed the brokenhearted then is the same God who's waiting to meet you now, in this very moment. So, take a deep breath, let your heart settle, and come to the altar of rest, where healing begins, not through effort, but through surrender. What if I told you that healing isn't just something God does? It's who He is. In Exodus 15:26, God declares, I am the Lord who heals you. Not I might heal or sometimes I heal, but I am. It's not a side job or an occasional miracle. It's His identity. Healing is woven into the very nature of God. And when we understand that, our nights take on new meaning. You see, this truth was first revealed to the Israelites in the wilderness, right after they escaped the bondage of Egypt. They came to a place called Marah, where the only water available was bitter, undrinkable. Imagine their disappointment, their thirst, their frustration. But then God stepped in. He instructed Moses to throw a piece of wood into the water, and miraculously, the bitter water turned sweet. That moment wasn't just about physical thirst being quenched. It was a picture of transformation, a symbol of what God desires to do in our own lives, turning bitterness into blessing, pain into peace, and weariness into rest. And just like the Israelites, we often come to places in life that feel bitter. Days filled with stress, hearts heavy with grief, minds clouded by worry. Bitterness doesn't always show up in obvious ways. Sometimes it hides behind busyness, behind silence, behind that smile we wear, even when our soul feels dry. But God sees it, and He's not afraid of it. In fact, He specializes in it. He doesn't shame us for feeling empty. He meets us there. Right in the dryness, right in the disappointment, He offers something better, Himself. The same God who turned that water sweet still speaks today. I am the Lord who heals you. Not just your physical body, but your broken spirit, your anxious thoughts, your emotional exhaustion. He doesn't wait for daylight to do His work. His healing begins the moment we surrender, even in the middle of the night. So if you're lying in bed tonight wondering if God sees your pain, if He hears your silent cries, He does. He sees it all. And He's not distant. He's present. He's personal. He is Jehovah Rapha, the Lord who heals. Let this truth settle in your soul tonight. Healing is not something you have to strive for. It's something you receive from the one whose very name is healing. And just like He made bitter water sweet, He can bring sweetness back to your weary soul. All He asks is that you come just as you are and let Him restore what's been broken. And maybe that's what you need most tonight. Not a dramatic miracle, but a quiet reminder that He is still who He says He is, that His healing is steady, gentle, and sure, that you're not forgotten in your pain. You are held, seen, and invited into restoration, not because of what you've done, but because of who He is. So don't wait for the perfect moment. This is the moment. Whisper His name, invite Him into the bitterness, and watch as He begins to turn it sweet. Some wounds don't bleed. Some pain doesn't scream. It simply sits, quietly, invisibly, beneath the surface. You carry it through your day, hidden behind smiles, tucked under responsibilities, buried beneath strength. And sometimes, in the stillness of night, it rises. That's when you wonder, does anyone see? Does anyone really understand? Psalm 147:3 offers a whisper of truth to the hurting heart. He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. These are not the wounds that show up on X-rays or scans. They're the ones hidden in the soul, and God sees them all. He saw Hannah, a woman who wept in silence, so overwhelmed with sorrow that even a priest mistook her prayers for drunkenness. She didn't have the words, just a groan, just tears, just ache. But God didn't miss a single moment. He saw her pain, He honored her cry, and He restored her joy, not only through the child she longed for, but through the peace He placed in her heart. Maybe you feel like Hannah tonight, misunderstood, unheard, emotionally empty. Maybe you've held it together all day, but now in the quiet, it's all catching up. The truth is, you don't need to explain it perfectly to be heard. You don't need a flawless prayer to be healed. God is not waiting for you to clean yourself up before coming to Him. He moves toward your brokenness, not away from it. There is something sacred about the tears no one else sees. They are collected by a God who is near to the crushed in spirit. And His healing is often most powerful in the places no one else even knows are wounded. You may feel invisible to the world, but you are fully known to your Creator. So tonight, if your soul feels bruised and your emotions are hanging by a thread, lean in. You are not forgotten. Your pain is not too small or too messy for Him. Let this be the night you stop pretending to be okay. Let this be the night you are seen, truly seen, by the one who heals what others overlook. And maybe tonight, in the quiet of your own heart, you realize how long you've carried that hidden pain. It might not have a name, it might not have a clear beginning, but it's real. The kind of pain that slowly wears you down, that hides behind productivity or silence. The kind that shows up in your tired eyes, in the tension in your chest, in the way you feel drained without knowing why. But friend, here's the hope. God does not overlook what others ignore. He is not discouraged by the depth of your emotion or the weight of your sorrow. In fact, He draws closer. Like a gentle physician, He kneels beside your wounded soul, not to judge, to bind, to soothe, to restore. He doesn't just glance at your pain. He studies it. He stays with it. He holds it with hands that know suffering. That's what makes His healing so personal. Because He chooses to dwell in your broken places until beauty begins to grow. So tonight, open your heart just a little. Whisper, if that's all you can do. Let the tears fall if they come. Let God meet you in the most unspoken corners of your story, because that's where He does His deepest work. You are seen, you are heard, you are healing. Sometimes healing doesn't look like a sudden miracle. It looks like a promise whispered into the darkness, a promise that says, I will restore you. That's the assurance found in Jeremiah 30:17, where God declares, I will restore you to health and heal your wounds. Not I might, not if you earn it, but I will. It's not a maybe. It's a guarantee rooted in His character. This promise was first spoken to a people who were bruised, exiled, and afraid. They had lost their homes, their stability, their hope. And maybe tonight, you feel a bit like that too, displaced in your own life, wondering if things will ever feel whole again. The truth is, God's restoration doesn't always come quickly, but it always comes completely. Think of Job, a man who lost almost everything: his health, his family, his future. His suffering was unimaginable, but even in his darkest days, God had not abandoned him. And when the time came, God didn't just restore Job, He doubled what was lost. Not because Job was flawless, but because God is faithful. That's the power of divine restoration. It doesn't just replace what's missing, it multiplies what's possible. And even when you can't see it happening, it's already at work, quietly, invisibly, beneath the surface. like roots growing underground, preparing for something beautiful to break through. Maybe you've been waiting a long time. Maybe hope feels distant. But hear this. God's promises are not based on your timeline. They are anchored in His eternal goodness. Even when the healing seems delayed, He is still restoring. And restoration doesn't just mean physical health. It means renewed purpose. It means joy where sorrow once lived. It means peace where chaos used to reign. God doesn't just want to get you back on your feet. He wants to make you stronger than before. Not just surviving, flourishing. So tonight, if you feel stuck in a season that seems like loss, hold tight to the one who redeems everything. His restoration is coming. It may not be loud, it may not be fast, but it will be full. Trust that. Even now, in this quiet moment, He is doing something new in you. You're not being forgotten. You're being restored. Maybe tonight you're asking, but what if I don't feel it? What if I can't see anything changing? That's okay. Restoration often begins long before we recognize it. Like the seasons, shifting underground, healing takes root before it blooms. Don't mistake silence for absence. The quiet places are often where God works the most. Let your heart rest in this truth. You are not beyond repair. There is no wound too deep, no loss too great, no past too broken that He cannot redeem. God's restoration reaches into the darkest corners, into the chapters we thought were over, and writes something beautiful there. So if your soul is tired of waiting, breathe. Let this moment be your reminder. He's still writing your story. And the next chapter is one of restoration, one of peace, one of unexpected joy. There's a kind of tiredness that sleep alone can't fix. It goes deeper than your muscles and bones. It lives in your spirit. Maybe you felt it. The kind of exhaustion that weighs down your thoughts, dulls your joy, and makes you wonder how much longer you can keep going. But into that exhaustion, Jesus speaks one of His most tender invitations. Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28. Jesus wasn't speaking to people who had it all together. He was speaking to the tired, the overwhelmed, the ones crushed under the weight of life. And He didn't offer a formula or a checklist. He offered Himself. Think of the woman who had been bleeding for 12 years. She had tried everything, spent all she had, and still suffered. But then, she reached out, just barely, and touched the hem of Jesus' garment. In that single moment, without words, without attention, she was healed. Not because of her strength, but because of her faith. Jesus turned to her, saw her, and called her daughter. That's what rest looks like with God. It's not something you earn, it's something you reach for. And even if all you have left is a trembling hand and a sliver of hope, that's enough. Tonight, you don't need to impress God with perfect prayers or polished words. You just need to come. Come with your weariness. Come with your questions. Come with your doubt. He's not afraid of your weakness. He welcomes it, because the kind of rest He gives isn't just about closing your eyes. It's about opening your heart. It's about releasing what you were never meant to carry and receiving what only He can give. Peace that goes beyond understanding, calm that doesn't make sense, strength that rises out of surrender. So if you're tired tonight, really tired, know this: Jesus sees you. He's not asking for more effort, he's asking for trust. Just as you are, come to him. Lay your burdens down and let him give your soul the rest it's been aching for. Rest with Jesus isn't passive, it's powerful. It doesn't ignore your pain, it welcomes it into his presence. It's the kind of rest that anchors your soul even when the storm doesn't stop. It's what allowed Jesus himself to sleep in a boat during a raging sea. Not because the storm wasn't real, but because his trust in the Father was greater than the chaos around him. And that same rest is available to you. Not someday, not when everything is perfect, but right now, tonight. What if you gave yourself permission to stop striving? What if instead of holding it all together, you let it all fall into his hands? That is the invitation. That is the gift. Tonight, rest isn't weakness. It's worship. When you choose to be still in the presence of the one who never slumbers, you're declaring with your silence, God, I trust you more than I trust my fear. And that, my friend, is the beginning of healing. So exhale, you are safe here. And rest is not only allowed, it is holy. Sometimes we reach the end of ourselves, not because we've failed, but because we've given so much. You've prayed, you've pushed through, you've kept smiling when it hurt. But now you're just tired, emotionally spent, spiritually dry. And in that place, it's easy to wonder, is God disappointed in me? But Scripture tells us something very different. Isaiah 40:29 says, He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. God doesn't shame us for being tired. He strengthens us. He doesn't back away from our burnout. He draws near to it. Look at Elijah, a prophet who had just seen God move in miraculous ways, calling down fire from heaven. But shortly after, we find him under a broom tree, asking God to let him die. He was done, emotionally exhausted, spiritually depleted, physically drained. And what did God do? He didn't rebuke Elijah. He didn't demand more faith. He sent an angel to feed him, to let him rest, to care for his body before speaking to his heart. That's the kind of God we serve. One who knows when your soul needs food before it needs a sermon. One who whispers instead of shouts. One who meets you in your collapse with compassion, not condemnation. Maybe you've been running on empty, trying to keep up, trying to be strong. But tonight, you don't need to keep performing. You don't need to pretend. God is not impressed by your ability to push through. He is moved by your willingness to stop and let him in. This kind of rest is different. It's not passive, it's permission. Permission to fall apart. Permission to cry. Permission to not have all the answers. And when you give yourself that permission, you make room for God's quiet restoration. So if you feel like Elijah tonight, done, overwhelmed, on the verge of giving up, know this: you're not failing. You're human. And God isn't far from your fatigue. He's in it with you, whispering through the silence, nourishing your soul, preparing strength for tomorrow. You don't need to rise right now. You just need to rest. Because even here, at your lowest, God is still with you, and He's not going anywhere. And maybe that's what your soul needs tonight. To know that you're not too much, not too far gone, not too broken to be loved. That even in your emptiness, you're not disqualified. You're exactly the one He came for. You don't have to climb your way back to Him. He's already by your side, in the quiet, in the fatigue, in the long sighs and the silent tears. He's not watching to see if you'll get it all together. He's inviting you to rest in the truth that He already has it all in His hands. This is where true healing begins. Not in striving, but in surrender. Not in noise, but in stillness. And when you finally let yourself stop, you'll realize He's been right here all along. So breathe, rest, receive. When God heals, He doesn't stop at the surface. He doesn't just patch up the visible. He reaches deep into the spirit, into the memories, into the silent spaces we try to ignore. Because His desire isn't just for us to function, it's for us to flourish. Scripture shows us again and again that God heals completely, not partially, not temporarily. Psalm 23 doesn't say He makes us barely get by. It says He restores my soul. And that word, restore, means to bring back, to renew, to return to original purpose. Sometimes we ask God to fix the headache, the anxiety, the muscle ache. But He also wants to touch the trauma we buried, the lies we've believed, the shame we've carried for years. His healing is holistic. It moves from the outside in and the inside out. That's the kind of healing Jesus offered when He walked this earth. He didn't just stop the bleeding woman's physical suffering. He restored her dignity. He didn't just open blind eyes. He welcomed people back into community. He didn't just raise the dead. He gave families back their joy. And that's still what He wants to do for you. To heal your body, to calm your nervous system, to restore balance to your mind, but also to lift the heaviness in your soul, to breathe life into the parts of you that have been numb for too long. Maybe you've gotten used to surviving. Maybe the idea of thriving feels far away. But God is not just in the business of rescue. He's in the business of resurrection. He rebuilds. He renews. He breathes fresh hope into weary places. So tonight, let His presence touch every part of you. Invite Him into your heartbeat, your breathing, your digestion, your thoughts. Invite Him into your memories, your emotions, your questions. He's not overwhelmed by the complexity of your pain. He understands every layer. Healing may come slowly, it may come quietly, but it will come. Because that's who He is. Not just the one who saves, but the one who makes whole. And wholeness is your inheritance. So don't limit your prayers to just what you think He can handle. Ask boldly. Ask vulnerably. Ask Him to restore your sleep, your digestion, your memory, your hormones, your energy, your peace. No part of you is off limits to the one who created every cell, every breath, every heartbeat. And remember, even when you don't feel it instantly, healing can still be happening. It might look like a quieter mind, a calmer breath, a thought that doesn't sting the way it used to, a little more lightness in your chest. These are signs of something sacred shifting. God is not in a hurry, but He is always working. Every moment of stillness, every night you choose to surrender instead of striving is part of the rebuilding. You're not being ignored. You're being restored, carefully, intentionally, completely. So tonight, give him permission to go deeper. Let him minister to every layer. Let him make you whole. Jesus, tonight I come before you with no performance, no mask, just me. I'm tired, Lord. My body feels heavy, my thoughts won't slow down, and my heart aches in ways I can't fully explain. There have been conversations today I keep replaying, expectations I didn't meet, quiet worries tucked beneath every smile. And now that the world has gone quiet, everything I tried to ignore is suddenly loud again. But you, God, are not asking me to fix myself before I come. You're just asking me to come. So I do. I come weary, distracted, imperfect, but real. I come to surrender what I've carried for too long. The fear I've hidden, the anxiety I've minimized, the pressure I've normalized. I lay it all at your feet, trusting that you are strong enough to hold it and kind enough to care. Touch my body, Lord. You see the places that ache, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Reach into the tension in my shoulders, the tightness in my chest, the fatigue that lingers even after rest. Regulate what's out of balance. Restore what stress has broken down. Strengthen what feels weak. Heal my immune system, calm my nervous system, balance my hormones. Breathe life into every cell you created, but even more. Jesus, touch the parts of me that medicine can't reach. The fears I don't speak out loud. The thoughts that spiral. The moments I feel numb or out of control. Wrap your peace around my soul like a blanket. Let your presence silence every voice of fear, shame, or doubt. Tonight, I choose surrender over control. I release my grip. I forgive who I need to forgive. I hand over the confusion, the pain, the wondering. I choose to worship you in this still moment, not because everything is okay, but because you are still God. I trust you more than my questions. I trust you in my sleep. So let this night be holy ground. Let my rest be healing. Let this surrender be the beginning of renewal. Thank you for meeting me here, not when I was perfect, but when I was honest. Cover this room with your presence, Lord. Let every corner be filled with light. Drive out fear. Chase away anxiety. Assign angels to stand guard over my rest. I declare this space a sanctuary, a place where peace reigns and healing flows, where torment cannot enter and darkness must flee. Let your spirit fill the atmosphere with stillness, not stagnancy, but the stillness of sacred peace, the kind that lets my breath slow and my chest feel safe again. Replace every racing thought with a calm reminder. You are near. You are in control. You are enough. And as I drift into sleep, let your word become the lullaby of my soul. Not just rest for my body, but restoration for my being. Let dreams be healing, my breathing steady, and my waking full of lightness and renewed hope. You are the keeper of my night. and I trust you with it all. Lord, tonight I don't just ask for sleep, I ask for rest. Not just for my body, but for my soul. I want more than just closed eyes and still limbs. I long for the kind of rest that restores what the day has drained. The kind that reaches into the weary corners of my mind and heart and makes them whole again. Because true rest, real rest, isn't just about physical stillness. It's about surrender. It's handing you what I can't control. It's choosing to trust you while I sleep. It's letting go of the need to have it all figured out and instead saying, God, I trust you with what I cannot see. So tonight, I release it all. The questions that don't have answers. The weight that has lingered too long. The emotions I haven't had words for. I place them into your hands, the safest place they could ever be. I won't try to carry what was never mine to hold, and in the silence of this moment, I believe that you're working. Even if I feel nothing, even if it all still looks the same, because healing doesn't always come with fanfare. Sometimes it comes gently, like a breath, a whisper, a soft realignment of what's been broken. Tonight isn't just the end of a long day. It's the beginning of something sacred. It's the start of restoration, of new rhythms, of lighter burdens. And I welcome it with open hands and a quiet heart. But I'm not just praying for myself. Lord, I lift up those who are barely holding on tonight. The ones lying awake in pain, in fear, in silence. The ones who feel forgotten or overwhelmed. Would you wrap them in the same peace you're wrapping around me now? Let your healing reach beyond this room. Let it touch families, calm hospital beds, quiet, anxious hearts. Comfort the grieving, restore the weary. Use this prayer as a ripple, spreading far beyond my life into homes, hearts, and places that need it most. May this night be holy not just for me, but for all who are aching for rest. Let your peace move freely, your presence linger, and your love do what only it can do, heal. In your name I rest, and in your strength I believe. Let even this prayer be an offering, a quiet act of love, a declaration of faith, not just for myself, but for my neighbor, my friend, the stranger who scrolls by in silence, hoping for a sign that God still sees. Lord, be near to the single parent crying quietly in the kitchen. Be close to the elderly woman lying alone in a hospital bed. Be strength for the man who doesn't know how to ask for help. Let your spirit move like wind, gentle but undeniable, bringing calm where there's chaos and hope where there's heaviness. And when morning comes, may we wake up changed. Not because everything around us is different, but because something within us has shifted. A little more peace, a little more strength, a little more trust in you. This is what you do, God. You heal while we rest. You restore when we let go. You rebuild as we surrender. So I won't fear the dark. I'll welcome the quiet, because I know you're here. You are my rest. You are my healer. You are my peace. And you are more than enough for me and for the world. Before you close your eyes tonight, I want to invite you into a sacred moment, one that goes beyond just listening to words. I want you to take a breath, slowly, and picture this. Your burdens, your fears, your worries, all of it placed into the open, scarred hands of Jesus. Not as a metaphor, but as a spiritual act. Because those hands are steady, they're strong, and they've already carried more than you'll ever need to. You don't have to keep holding everything together. You don't have to pretend to be okay when your soul is tired. God never asked you to carry it all alone. Even now, while you rest, He is working. You might not feel it. You might not see it. But the same God who knit you together is gently, patiently, and powerfully restoring what has been broken. The healing might be quiet. The change might be slow. But His hands are never still. His heart is never far. This is your invitation, not to do more, but to let go. To trust that surrender is stronger than control. That letting go doesn't mean you're giving up. It means you're giving it to the only one who can truly carry it. So ask yourself, what am I still holding on to tonight? What fear? What regret? What weight have I adjusted my life around instead of releasing it? And then, right now, whisper it to Him. Let it go. Let Him take it. Say it aloud if you can. Jesus, I give this to you. That pain, that question, that longing, all of it. And as you do, let peace replace the tension. Let trust replace the fear. Let His presence be enough for tonight. You don't need to understand the outcome to rest in His arms. You don't need to see the plan to know He's leading. All you need to do is surrender. This is your sacred reset. This is your gentle beginning. So breathe deep, set it all down, and let this be your final prayer before sleep. Lord, heal me while I rest.